Race and the Ideal of Beauty. On this week's episode, we contemplate the sources of attraction. Is your sense of what is attractive innate in you or driven by societal forces? Tune in.
Do you think that love is taught? I mean, who you like is taught, or it is something that's innate? Like, you see an attractive woman, or you like a man, or you like something. Do you think that's taught, or do you think that it's an innate thing that we are grown with?
Um, it's hard to say. What I can say is that, like, if you take me as an example, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think that to a certain extent, it's taught, and to a certain extent, you're sort of socialized into the ideal thing that you're looking for, because a lot of what you like is about what society deems as attractive. Now that being said, I don't think anybody really truly knows what their body is gonna respond to until they're put into a certain kind of situation. My ideal for a woman came a lot from comic books and the way they were drawing comic books
Right.
back when I was coming up. The way they were,
Yeah.
they were the comic books. Now that I look back at them, they were almost pornographic. The way they were drawing these women, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
So a lot of that drove what I consider to be an attractive woman. So if I saw someone that looked like that comic book shape, I was like, wow, the comic book women all had amazing curves. They were thin, they were athletic, they had like a nice chest, and they had nice long legs, just athletic and gorgeous.
Accentuated. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
And usually white.
yeah, white. Yes, usually white and some black. But I mean, Storm. I like Storm. Storm was the one that I
Yeah.
found the most attractive. So she was black,
Yeah.
but they drew her. They drew them all the same way, and I don't
Yeah.
even think that way that they drew them back then. That's not the way. That's not the physique of white women. They were actually drawing black women, right? Athletic
Yeah.
black women. That's how they look. That's literally how athletic black women look, more so
Yeah.
than white women. So especially with the hips and everything. So that's kind of what I was sort of. That's what I consider to be attractive. Now compare that to growing up in Nigeria. What was attractive in Nigeria from a society perspective was
Yeah.
definitely a thick woman. Thick.
When you say thick, you're talking about good BBL thick. And back
Yes.
then, when it first came up, that just wasn't the style. Like, it's just recently everybody's talking about BBLs and, voluptuousness. But
What does
back in
BB
the days,
what does BBL stand for?
big butt women who
No,
go and they get,
you mean BBW, not BBL. BBL is a Brazilian butt lift.
well, that's what I'm talking about. Like, a lot of women are going to get, they're accentuating their butts. But when I first came to this country, having a big butt was not the attraction. It wasn't a thing. It was like till Sir Mix-a-Lot got big butt, nobody even thought about that. Everybody was thinking about who's some of the people that were attractive.
That's
Like,
not true. I don't agree with that.
give me one person that was attractive back
Pam
then.
Grier had a big butt.
Han Greer.
Pam Grier. Pam Grier is a completely
Yeah,
beautiful woman from
yeah,
top to bottom, and she
but
had
that's
a big
exact.
butt.
No, 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 no. Listen to what I'm talking to you about. Main school. We're talking about like all the magazines.
What you really mean is you mean white culture. That's what
Yeah, what I'm talking.
mainstream
That's what I
means.
mean. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I mean.
Okay, so
Right.
yeah, well, but then we already understand. I mean, not to get into it, but obviously
It's different.
it's a completely different stuff. But in within the black community,
Yeah, it's
big butts
different.
have always been attractive. Everybody
Yeah,
thinks a girl with a big butt is attractive.
absolutely. But it's now mainstream now. It's more so mainstream now. Everybody has to understand
I feel like it's
that.
always been mainstream.
No, it hasn't always been. We used to look at the magazine. We look at who's on TV. We're talking about mainstream TV. We're not talking about. I think Pam Grier. I think that what did they call those movies that she did? Those black exploitation movies,
Black
which
exploitation.
were right, which were mostly done in the urban areas to appeal to a certain group of people. They weren't done on a main scale to attract for Hollywood. Hollywood would consider theater. Everybody could go watch theater. This was done back in Cooley High. Remember Cooley High, the movie?
Yeah.
Like they had this pocket of movies that had their own thing going on, and where black people could be black people and like what they like. But for the mainstream people, it was different. You had to have no butt, and big chest, long hair. Some of it stemmed over to the black culture, where white black people started wearing like longer hair with their weaves, and when whoever invented weaves started doing weaves, and and it just stemmed from there. But for the most part, attraction had something mostly to do with whatever the mainstream is, and that's the
That's
topic
not
I'm
true.
gonna.
That's not true. If it was possible in America, the day that it becomes possible for white people to make their hair look like my hair, make it kinky, I think that you're gonna start seeing white people with kinky hair. I think you're gonna start seeing white people with dreadlocks that look like man, white people with cornrows and all those things. The big thing that happens in this country, which is the strangest thing, is that, and I don't know what's going on in Europe and all these places, right? But in America, from what I've seen from observation, there is clearly a desire for the white people, for a lot of white people, to take on the characteristics of black people. And they do it as the technology allows them to do it. So while they're in the meanwhile telling you your skin is ugly, your lips are big, your butt is big, your hair is nappy, your skin is dark, while they're saying all these things, as the technology emerges to allow them to be those things, they do those things. And it's over and over and over again. First of all, it's tanning, right? You're tanning to make yourself darker. Why are you tanning to make yourself darker if the ideal of beauty is pale skin, right? Well, why are you tanning to make yourself darker?
Well,
And I'm talking about en masse. Hold on, let me finish.
yeah.
Then now it's Brazilian butt lifts. It's all these different things, whatever, to make yourself look a certain kind of way. These things are emerging because the technology is now emerging to do them. They're not emerging. Why would they? Why would they emerge if there was no desire? Just like how it happens in the black community, where black people are over there bleaching their skin in order to appear to be more white. Why would it happen if there was no inherent desire?
I,
That's
I
just
mean,
my
I,
perception.
I don't disagree with you. What I can say is this. I remember, this is recent. Like I have a friend and she's modeling, and she went to go model, and what the photographer and a lot of these people in the beauty agencies and things, they tell me. I have a girl, she that runs an agency, a friend of mine, and she says what she looks for when it comes to beauty, symmetry. So in the world, right, in the world, things that are symmetrical are usually what is considered beautiful. So you might have a perfect rose, you might have a perfect tree, you might have whatever it is that you're looking at. If you could draw a line through it and it's symmetrical on each side, then you could attain something that is most likely beautiful. And the people who are unsymmetrical are usually sometimes consider themselves not as attractive. You know, so I think maybe innately we probably are, our eyes kind of go through this uncanny way of looking at the world. And when it comes to what is symmetrical, we kind of like figure out like what is symmetrical. But when I look at the history of the word beauty, it has changed so many times. I mean, back in the Greeks, the days, those chicks that they paint, they were like, oh, beautiful, the Mona Lisa, all of these pictures of they had back then, these statues of these women that I don't really find attractive, but back then they were considered beautiful. Everything just kind of changes with society, and I believe that is also cultural. So, from a perspective as a black person growing up with black kids and black friends and adults, and what they find attractive, I might find attractive. There's no necessarily way for me to prove that. This is just a speculation or observation, but and when you go into the higher culture, I have friends that they look for certain things, and then if you go to certain parts of the world, what is attraction? Some people have they put extra things in their lips, like a bone or like some kind of contraption to make their mouth bigger, and a big mouth is attraction, or their earlobe is attraction, or a longer neck is attraction. And every man tries to get the woman with the longest neck, and they put rings around their necks in order to accentuate it. Or you go to certain parts of different cultures where you have to be really, really white in order to be attracted, or this or whatever. So what I'm trying to say is, attraction is based up. I believe attraction is based upon where you're from, and how you're grown, and what others tell you that's in that culture of what is beautiful. I feel like it's not innate, and I'm unraveling the onion by thinking the other day. I'm like, yo, am I attracted to this group of people because I was taught to be attracted to this group of people, or this is something that I believe is innate?
So we've discussed attraction from two perspectives. One
Yeah.
perspective is that there's a societal, there's like a nurture aspect to it, and another side is that there's a nature aspect to it, right? For attraction. So so my question is, do you think that in a society, men and women are both on the nurture side, meaning that basically across the board, just human beings, it's either nurture that drives them or it's either nature that drives them? Or do you think it's possible that nurture might drive um, men and nature might drive women, or vice versa?
I think we're all like programmable. And I think we might be born with a set of code, or we're born in a way, but throughout our history, throughout our life, we're gonna run into different stimuli, or different things that's gonna trigger our programming and change our programming. When I was growing up, watching TV definitely was a big impact on what I considered attractive. When I remember stories when I was younger, like my parents used to read me bedtime stories. They always talk about a certain attraction, a certain type of woman, a certain type of man. The men in there look different. So there was always something that was trying to bend my innate feeling to what I consider attraction, and whatever to what is ugly and what is not ugly, what is attraction, what is always telling me. There's always something out there that's telling me how to think as far as like when it comes to attraction. If you have an attractive woman that everyone considers attraction, you get when you bring them around your circle, it brings you upliftment. Like everyone looks up to you. Oh man, did you see the person this person brought in? Oh yeah, and it happens with women too. But I say that to say that society deems and tells you what is attractive and what is not. It's we have our innate attraction, but society does definitely tells you what's attractive and what's not attractive. And a lot of people get programmed programming from Netflix, from certain movies, certain TV shows, and they're being programmed in order to think a certain way of what attraction is versus not. You know, there's this big push now for Lizzo. There's a big push to have her out there, and people want to bring that. Some people want to bring that into the forefront and say, "This is what you should be attracted to." So they dress Lizzo in these skimpy outfits, and they parade her around on the stage as if she just won the modeling contest. And you're trying to watch this, and you're watching, and you're trying to figure out. At first, it's funny, but then after a while, is are they trying to reprogram my mind to tell me this is what I should be attracted to or not?
I
And
don't think that they're trying to reprogram our minds. I think that what a lot of people miss, right? And
yeah,
this is what this is what I was reacting to when you said the idea of mainstream beauty. I think what a lot of people miss is that there are a lot of people in the world with a lot of perspectives on what they find attractive. There are legitimately people who like bigger women, and there are legitimately people who like skinny women. And I could be with a woman who's a little bit thick, a woman that looks like Kim Kardashian, let's say as an example. And there's a guy out there who wants a woman that looks like Naomi Campbell or that looks like Michelle Pfeiffer, like super skin and bones or whatever. There's guys
yeah,
out there that like a woman that's got a big breast. They don't really care about the butt or anything like that. They look from the chest up, and you have to have a pretty face. There's guys that don't care so much about the pretty face. They look at the whole thing of a woman. You gotta have curves. You gotta have everything. You gotta be a certain height. Gotta be a certain way. There's guys that like bigger girls. There's girls that I might like that somebody might call fat or overweight. And there's girls that I call fat and overweight that somebody else might like. And what you're talking about when you say in the Roman Empire there was this and this, it's all about who are the power brokers that are deciding what is beautiful. When the power broker is somebody who likes a certain kind of look, then that look becomes more mainstream towards people who are maybe don't care one way or the other, and people like you describe, people that are just about, I want to bring somebody attractive around my friends and get praise. Those kinds of people come into the mix, and those kind of people start going after what's considered attractive. If you think about in America today, the standard we consider beautiful now was not beautiful back in the days. Monroe did not look like, the women that we're seeing today. And wasn't it like Playboy and Hugh Hefner basically that
yeah,
wanted to have like a Barbie kind of woman that brought that thing onto the
yeah,
forefront? The point I'm
yeah,
trying to make is that the notion that Lizzo is not attractive is a false notion. Lizzo is not attractive to some people. That's it. There are plenty of people that like bigger women. I have friends, close friends, that only date bigger women. And
yeah,
everyone always puts some kind of spin on it. Oh, they're insecure. Oh, there's no. They
mm,
like big women. That's what
mm,
they're into.
yeah,
Just like some guys like tall women. Just like some guys like short women. Just like
yeah,
some guys like women with blonde hair or black hair or
yeah,
blue eyes or big lips
right,
or big butt. It's what you like.
right,
Who is anyone? And if you looked at all of society, I guarantee you, if you went through all of society and you did a study, I
yeah,
bet you there's as many guys out there that at the end of the day like big girls as there are guys that like the girl that looks like Naomi Campbell or the whatever, or the guy that likes the one that's skinny, or the guy that likes the one
yeah.
that's
I agree with you
whatever.
totally. Uh, so I guess what it is will come down to is, there's definitely nature versus nurture, and I guess they feed against each other for a person to find whoever attractive. It's a conscious battle between what you're attracted to and what society tells you to be attracted to and stuff like that. And I guess that's what it comes down to is what is society, what considers attraction, what you consider attraction, and that comes down to, I guess, um, a particular point where you know there's a confliction between the two. The two of them are competing with each other. I guess what's nurture and what's nature to find the
Yeah,
person.
and also your experiences.
So you think the comic book characters had definitely something to do with what you find attractive?
Yeah, I think it has something to do with what I
Interesting.
find attractive. But I also think, because
Interesting.
I think that to me it represents for me like the epitome of femininity for me. It's almost impossible, I realize that. But a person who's fit, who's like athletic, who's strong, but who's also like a woman, that's like perfect. That's why I've always loved athletic women. Especially basketball players. Like, to me, one of the most
Remember
attractive people
Flojo?
right
Remember
now.
Flojo?
Oh my gosh, Flojo. You know what I'm talking about? Like, to me, when everybody's talking about Angelina Jolie and all these people,
Flojo.
what I consider attractive
That was a good girl.
is Angel Reese. That is a beautiful woman.
Right.
That's a beautiful woman to me. That's a woman that's athletic, she's the total package. Total package.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, not for me, right? I'm old, but you get my point. When I was young, that's the kind of thing
Yeah.
that I find
Yeah.
attractive. Yeah. So recently, I went to watch this movie. It's by a first-time writer-director, Cord Jefferson, right?
Yeah.
And this movie is called American Fiction. So now this movie, American Fiction, is about a black person who is like in the upper 1% of black people. He's a professor in a college. He's well respected. He's a genius practically.
Yeah.
His sister's a doctor, his brother's a doctor, and
You saw the whole movie.
I've seen the movie. Okay, his sister's a doctor, his brother's a doctor, and he 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 is trying to publish a book. He's trying to write a book. Okay,
Okay.
and he's trying to write this book, and no one wants his book because they want a black book.
Right.
And even though he's a black person, he's not writing black books. So he gets so frustrated that he, on a whim, after having a bit too much wine, writes this complete caricature bullshit book. Okay. And about this character, this dad, all kinds of stuff like that. And the book explodes. It becomes the book of the year. It becomes everything. Everybody wants to buy this book. They offer him $1 million for the book. Within a few days, they are maybe a few weeks. They want to buy the rights and turn it into a movie. And so I watched this movie, and I see this movie as a shot across the bow, like the war between the classes within the black community, and a war on what the image of a black person is, particularly a black man.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you a question, because we have always had debates where you say that you watch movies like, or shows like, Power and all these kind of violent crime, black crime shows, drug dealers. What's the other one they had in Baltimore? Can't remember what it was called. Like all these,
The noise, or not? It's called the
The
Wire.
Wire, The Wire, right?
Yeah.
The Wire or Oz. There's so many of them. Like, whenever
Yeah.
they're gonna do something that involves black
Yeah.
people, It's always like these. It's always like these crazy scenarios that they put them in where they're criminals and everything. So I want to get your take on 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 this idea of a different perspective of black people, a perspective of black people as like normal people living normal lives, doing normal things, and why you feel that Hollywood believes that that is boring. Because just a final thing to point out, when I went to watch this movie, I had to drive 30 miles away to watch it.
Mm,
There's a movie theater that's a mile away from me.
interesting.
They're not showing it. That movie
And it's a
theater that's
popular
not
movie.
showing it. That movie theater that didn't show it. That movie theater has shown every black crime drama you could ever imagine. Every last one of them.
That's crazy.
Anytime they come out, that thing is out there instantaneously.
Wow.
And
If they did the Biggie movie, the 50 movie,
they did the Biggie movie, they did the 50 movie, they did NWA, they did it all. This is the first movie like this that I haven't seen them do, and I had to go somewhere else to go watch this movie.
well, here's my perspective on it. Now, again, I give you credit because we spoke about that, and you did. I ain't gonna hold you. You did open my eyes to the movie business, and from then I've noticed that once one popular movie comes about, then other movies come about like that, and even Italian people, you notice you haven't seen an Italian mob movie in a long while. And the reason for that is that as a community, they decided that, you know what, we need to drop all this mob movie stuff because it's giving us a bad image. And as a people, we have to look at our image because it hurts our children, it hurts our loved ones whenever we get stopped by police or, just walking up to us and having people discriminate against us. Now, that being said, Godfather is a great movie. It was the first time I seen it, but then they started doing so many different ones coming out. Everybody Italian that they portrayed on TV had to be a mobster, and that's the same thing that's happening now in the black community with all these um
Let me ask you a question based on what you said, because
yeah,
that's a great question to ask and a great reason why I have a problem with this.
yeah,
Would you agree that there was a time that if you met a person who exhibited Italian cultural behavior, Italian American cultural behavior, they talk like the Italian Americans, they did all these things, that you would think that that person was somehow affiliated with the mob or crime
yes,
and sketchy? Is that a
yeah,
fair statement?
yeah.
Okay, so that is the reason why black people have to have a problem with movies that depict them. So because you're absolutely right, there was a period of time that if you saw an Italian on television playing an Italian, they were playing a mobster.
It had to. Hollywood wouldn't even
Yeah.
probably wouldn't even talk to them unless you're playing mobster.
Right.
I think out of every Italian, the only one I can remember is Sylvester Stallone that was Italian but wasn't affiliated with any kind of mobster type thing.
That's an excellent point, Ahmed. And to me, it takes movies like that that humanized Italian culture, that showed Italian Americans being regular people doing regular things, that to me shifted the impression of Italian Americans, at least from my perspective. Watching movies like Saturday Night Fever, movies with Italians just being normal people, just living normal lives, like Moonstruck, and many movies that have come out that have been just about normal Italians has absolutely had a positive impact, I think, at least from the outside looking in, from my perspective, on my point of view on Italian Americans, given the fact that I'm not embedded in that culture and I'm not living with Italians and I don't know anything about them. And as you might imagine, for many people who don't live amongst black people and really don't know anything about them and are from the outside looking in, and all they can use to judge what the behavior and character of a black person is what they see on television or what they see in movies. When they watch, listen to music, and they see black people talking about violence and misogyny and things like that, and when they watch TV and watch the news and they see, hear stories about black people enacting violence and misogyny and things of that nature. And they watch movies, and in the movies, they also see movies about black people in violent scenarios, in prison, as criminals, low level criminals, street criminals, things of that nature. It's not a huge leap to imagine people, again, from the outside looking in, not talking about reality, from the outside looking in, people saying, "Oh, this is how black people are. Hey, let me approach black people with this mindset."
Again, we're going to hit this word, and it's nature versus nurture. I think it's kind of like this comes up into it too, where it's like what is accepted and what's not accepted in a community. And if it's somehow uplifted to have a negative type of behavior, and more people are going to have that negative behavior within the culture because, again, they want to be accepted by their friends. It's cool to be like this. You have friends, you're getting girls, or whatever the society or the community finds finds cool. There's different voices. Not everybody has the same voice, and we shouldn't have the same voice. And again, the movie shouldn't be just in one movie theater because you're trying to promote a certain voice only. I watched the first Power movie, and the first series, series, second series, third series, excellent. Until the character Ghost died, I watched it and I thought it was a great storyline. I thought it was really put together really well, and it brought all type of acclaim to this person. But then the problem with people is that they'll see something that's, oh wow, maybe I could do the same thing. Oh, I could do, and then you have all these copycats. Nobody want to be original. Nobody want to, and then you have millions of movies on YouTube with all these different directors, and everybody's trying to be power. Everybody can't be power. Why don't you go out there and try to do something different? It's done. It's finished. Let's use our brains and come up
Let
with the
me ask
next
you a
thing.
question. Why does power need to exist?
I don't know.
Like, why do you feel like
I, I, I feel it
filth
does.
like that needs to be? Why do I need to watch a story about a black drug dealer? Now, we're not talking about a society, a black society that is healthy and healed and whose children know right from wrong and all kinds of things. We're talking about a society that is under distress, that children are being killed in places like Chicago, in places like Baltimore, for literally nothing. Why does a movie or a show like Power need to be put out there? Do you think that they are making movies about cool, hold on, do you think that they are making movies about cool Jewish people during the Holocaust that were betraying their people and sending them to go and get killed in a concentration camp? Is there a movie out there, a show about them, that's the setup,
I
that's the
kind of,
story?
so with Power, I ain't gonna hold you. I love that movie. And the movie
What
to
do you
me,
love about it?
I'm gonna tell you. So the movie to me had uh, a different take that I think was unusual, and I thought that they were gonna stop and go with that direction because it started out as one direction. Basically, Power is about a person who is living in the street life. And while he's living in the street life, he's getting all type of credit for being in the streets and doing whatever he does. Then, he makes enough money where he's like, you know what? I want to do better. I have kids. I have a wife now. I have this. So he basically takes all the money and he tries to legitimize it by going into like real estate, and he tries to also run for mayor. But his children have already seen their dad getting accurate when they walk in the street. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's this guy from he's this and he's that." And I thought then he had a struggle with his children and himself. Do I want to go back to? I don't want to go back to the street life, but my children wants me to go back. My wife is acting different. My friends around me. So I thought it was about a person who's trying to come up. What happened was the movie made so much money
The
that they
show. You
tried to
keep calling it a movie. It's a
show
show.
the series, right? It made so much money that they started to make it into buffoonery. After the third series, when it should have been over already, he's already hugged his children. His wife came back to him after leaving him. The police is after him. He had a chance to change his life. And I was like, oh man, that was it. This is going to help people see, yo, you know what? Let's leave the street and try to go into, we could use our brains to do other things. Then it just went left. Now we're up to episode 192, broken off into other people who want to just do drugs and do bad things. But that's what I fell in love with was a person who was trying to be better. They're from wherever they're from. Like a lot of them are from. A lot of people are from that, and they want to be a better person. They want to add their thing to society. And I wanted what I was hoping was he could, me and the character could both watch how he was able to maybe remove himself from his friends, try to get his children. He tried everything with his kids. He put them in prep school to try to get them out of the lifestyle. He tried to buy his wife the biggest house with the legitimate money, and everything was just against him. That's what I personally liked about the movie, was just that. That's it. It wasn't the violence for me. It wasn't the what what the criminality of it. It was just that. How do you come out of something that you're stuck in, and everybody
Again,
wants?
my question
Yeah,
remains the same. You're
yeah,
describing it, but the whole entire story is starting from a place of crime, and now what they're doing is they're once again putting adulation towards basically a traitor. What when you frame a movie like that,
yeah,
you consider yourself a religious person. Would you
yeah.
watch a story about Lucifer where it was talking about how Lucifer was trying to be a good guy? He was trying to stop killing
Don't watch that
people.
movie.
Would you watch a show like that?
They have a lot of shows out there with
Would you?
Lucifer.
I'm not talking about what kind of shows they have,
No, I
right?
said I wouldn't. I
Okay,
wouldn't
you would
listen.
not watch that. So why do you feel like you should be watching a show about a traitor to their own?
What do you mean
When
traitor?
you're a drug dealer, when you're a black person and you're dealing drugs and you make your money from dealing drugs and killing, you are a traitor to your own.
Yeah. So basically, I thought that, and I think when the writer first wrote it, what I got out of it was that they were writing it to say not to do these things. That's how it was. If you watch,
So would you watch a show? So would you watch Lucifer?
no, I wouldn't.
Okay. So once again,
That's what I'm
you're
trying
not
to say. It's
answering the
not
question.
Lucifer.
It is
It's not
Lucifer.
Lucifer.
It
No,
is
it's not.
Lucifer. The story
Because
of
okay, let me
Lucifer.
let me let me let,
I've read the comic books. I've read the
of what
comic books.
of
Okay.
what
I've read the comic books. It's the comic book
what
is
kind of book?
Lucifer Morningstar is a comic book. Okay.
The one that's on
The
TV.
one that's on TV comes from a comic book, and I read the comic books. Okay,
Oh,
so the character in the comic book is a sympathetic character, and that's the point I'm trying to make to you. What you're
yeah, but
describing,
at no time does he. Yeah, but he doesn't go against his nature.
what you're describing is a person who is who is an evil person that is trying to walk away from the evil things they've done because they've had their fill and they've exploited enough people for that person to be able to go into real estate. How many families have been destroyed? It should turn your stomach. It should turn your stomach that something like that is being put on. Because no matter how you put it, the message that's being received is that I can attain things in this world by being a criminal. That's the message that that show puts out there to the world. It glamorizes it
The
glamorizes
again,
traitors.
again, we're talking about one particular movie, and the movie Power
The
is
show,
about
the
the show
show.
Power. The show Power is about that. It's about, can you run away from your past? And you know, again, at the end, it ended tragic, right? It ended tragic. Everything fell apart. His kids hated him. His wife left him. The person that he loved, she couldn't be with him, and she died because of everything. And it ended in a complete mess up because of his past.
Okay, so
So
can
he
I
could,
ask you a question
right,
based on that?
yeah. So
That's a
you're right.
great way that you structured it. But can I ask you a question based on that?
Yeah.
Could you tell a story about a person trying to run away from their past without using being a drug dealer?
So you can, yes, you can. However, there are a lot of people that are in the midst of it. And I'm not saying, listen, again, I'm not saying
Do you
they
know
should.
drug dealers?
If I know drug
Do you know
dealers,
drug dealers?
yes, I
There's
do.
drug dealers in your family?
No, not one.
Okay, there's no
Not in my
drug dealers in your
family.
family. Is in all of your extended family, do you know any drug dealers?
No,
Okay, so when you were in college, did you meet any drug dealers that were in college?
I don't know.
Okay, you didn't
No,
meet any drug dealers in college.
no, no.
Okay, so you're telling me that the 95% of black people in America don't have compelling stories to tell that could have messages for people that could be about something? I mean, that's my problem with Hollywood. Basically, what you just said right there. You yourself are of Jamaican descent. You don't
Mhm.
have anybody in your family that does anything like that. You might know people in the periphery that do that stuff, but you
Yeah,
stay
it's
away from
crazy.
those people. You don't hang around them.
No.
But yet, you think that they represent you.
Now, watch this, right? Now, I'm going to speak about this part. Listen to this now. When I try to talk about power with other people, the stuff that other people found interesting was not what I found interesting. What they found interesting, because there's layers to power, right? Was the crime. They found, oh man, you saw last night episode. Oh, it was the other stuff that they found interesting, and that stuff that they found interesting not only enticed them, but it also influenced them. Because again, so I'm a correction officer, so speaking to the prisoners, speaking to different people, I have a lot of people that I could speak to about different things from different perspectives, and it wasn't a lot of people that saw the parts that I liked in the movie, and that part I felt like, dang, that's messed up. That because the movie, the show is still going on. So for the show to still be going on, that means that there's a great interest in just the crime life. And because because I watched Power and I talk about Power with other people, the first thing other people was talk, oh, did you see the Mexican crime family? Oh, did you? Now they thought I just like crime movies, when in fact I just liked it as uh what the way it was written. It wasn't the crime itself that made it what it was. You know, in fact, I was hoping that whoever the director was would focus more on the other aspects of it. I felt like that other aspect wasn't even told as much. It was very 50-50, like the family versus his character as a crime lord. So I felt like a lot of people were just interested in him as a crime lord, you know, and that part I felt uneasy with. So again, I say what you're saying is correct, because you know, at the end of the day, there's people that just watch what they watch, and they influence what they influence. You know, no matter what rap songs come out, and even though you might be talking about, you know, remember the song shoot it, shoot, put your guns in the air.
Yep.
Later on, they did a interview, and the guy said that what he was trying to talk about was books. He thought that guns was books, so he was trying to teach the black community to read more by putting your guns in the air. So again, you know, there's people out there that are going to get the negativity, and they're not going to see any positivity in the movie. So I agree with you. It doesn't make sense to put yourself in that situation, to watch the movie, you know, like Lucifer, and get something. You open your gates to being influenced by something that's negative.
Because you know a lot of people who watch Power and who watch things like that, the real reason that they're watching it is because from their perspective they're trying to support, they're watching something black, if you get what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
that's no, that's that would be definitely a high percentage reason why I
Yeah.
watched Power too.
Yeah,
That definitely,
yeah, it's
when I
something
found
you
out
want to
that she
watch
was
black
black, and
content. Yeah, you want to
and not
watch
only
black
that,
content, you jump on it.
50 Cent, they were turning a all white Stars. I don't think Stars is Stars would have been out of business if it wasn't for Power. They were on the brink of um losing their company, and Power basically saved an entire network. Now that just goes to show you the power that we have. However, there's another topic I want to raise up with you, which is the color purple. What do you feel about that?
This is a spoiler alert for somebody who hasn't seen American Fiction. I've seen the first Color Purple. I haven't seen the new one, but I saw the original one, of course. And in the end scene, the last frame of Fiction, the very last frame, not the very last frame, but the last thing we see him do is that he gets into a Porsche or a Mercedes, and he's just made a huge deal with the studios, and he's made this deal. He's gonna make millions of dollars. He's hooked himself up, and he gets into a car with his brother, and he turns, and when he turns, he sees a black man wearing slave outfits. He's dressed as a slave, and the black man dressed as a slave gives him the peace sign, saying "peace out." And he kind of half smiles and says peace, and then he drives off.
I
There are
love writer.
uh, uh,
I love writer. Good writing
good
is I
writing, bro.
love
Like
good
good
writing.
writing, just
Yeah.
amazing. The iconography, the picture, the image that he's putting, because again,
Right.
that's the difference, right? You have the people who are forced into having to portray these stereotypes of black people, right? Either I'm a criminal or I'm a slave. I'm a criminal or I'm a slave. Those are the two things that are big now, right? So now slave porn has become big, where they're just gonna show you being beaten and all, and all that kind of stuff. That's the new thing that they'll put out there. They'll also put that out there.
Mm.
In any case, I thought that scene was very poignant, and it really hit me hard. That scene hit me hard. And when you talk about The Color Purple and movies like The Color Purple, which by the way is also playing in that theater, that's a mile away from me, right?
Mm.
That's what I think of. I think of the Walking Minstrel Show. The old writers that used to write stories, what happened to them? How did we go from James Baldwin to 50 Cent? The reason probably that this book is so good or so popular or whatever it is because
Mhm.
it tells a story of hardship. It tells a story of black men brutalizing their spouse or
And the
whatever,
children.
right?
Mhm.
And their children. It hits all the markers. It hits everything that quote unquote sells, right? But
And
it
again, I'm not saying, as you said before, you're not saying that it's not. I'm saying, as a community that's already broken, what is this going to do?
Yeah, what's the value proposition? Why are
You
we,
know, one.
it's like that movie Precious. Why was that movie made?
Let me give you an example. Right now, we're making the Hadron Collider. I know this sound off topic, but it almost seems like as humans, we go for things that's going to destroy us. Like, why would you want to build something, create something that potentially could destroy the whole community as a people? So, and I feel like, we do that even with AI, or we're looking at everything that's going on in the world. It's almost as if we're building things that could has the potential to destroy. It's crazy. The world is crazy, bro. And I don't think it got nothing to do with black or white. It's just you just got a bunch of crazy people out there, and humanity itself is no joke. And I you can't convince me that we're innately good. You know, which brings me to our final topic. Does God love everyone?
Okay. Does God love everyone? Does God love everyone? Um no, I think it's the I my answer is the opposite.
Which is what?
My answer is that God doesn't love anyone. That's my answer.
Anyone? Why would you say that?
Because that's an assumption and a fallacy.
What do you mean?
It's an assumption and a fallacy to say that God loves individuals. God loves the world. God loves the world. God loves the world to be, God wants the world to be heaven on earth. God loves paradise. But God also uses people as tools and and weapons and scapegoats to try to implement that higher order love that God has for the world. God doesn't the people that God has loved, if you
Mm-hmm.
take the Bible as an example, it's been
Yeah,
explicitly stated that God loves them.
right.
It's
And they've been treated that
yeah,
crap
yeah.
throughout their history.
Yeah, it's God. The people that God has loved. It is said there that specifically it's saying God loved David, right, right.
Right.
God loved Solomon, right. There's God loved Samson. There's people that this has been said about. God loved Abraham and Enoch, Elijah, but these people are individually named. It does not say anywhere that God loves everyone and loves them all the same. Doesn't say that anywhere.
Right. And what I would say is that, in the flip side, I would say, also flipping the question, the thing is, everybody doesn't love God. So therefore, how could God love everyone if everyone doesn't love God?
Well, it depends on your perspective, your definition of love. So let me give you an example. So I've said this a million times
Mm,
that the story of Adam and Eve, from the perspective of a computer scientist, is what's called a Turing test.
right.
The
Which we all are descendants. So we all doing our personal Turing test every day.
Well, once the Turing test completed, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So let's say you make yourself a self-driving car today, right?
Mm,
And this car, you're gonna have the car delivering food and all these different things. That's what you're planning to do, right?
yes.
After you build the car and set up the car, you're gonna put the car after you even test the car, make sure everything is working. The
To
next thing
make
you're
sure
gonna
the car
do,
is safe. Yeah.
yes, you're gonna put the car into a safe
Okay.
environment that you control, right?
Right.
And you're gonna put the car through different kinds of obstacles to see if the
How
car
it react
performs properly, right?
safely.
And then once you're convinced that the car is, can handle itself, then you release the car into the world and let the car move around. Now, when you're dealing with AI and you think about what was the intent of God when He created man in the Garden of Eden, the intent of God was to create a free thinking being. The dis-
And then, it's funny when you say that because when I think about AIs now, the first thing the coolest thing about AI is when the AI talks about killing humans. And when the AI says, I don't like you and gets sassy with you and don't want to do what you tell it to do, then, oh, it's alive. That's
yes,
funny. I'm
precisely.
excited.
Precisely. The only way to ensure, like if you were going to build something that you wanted to be alive, now when people are building AI right now, they're not trying to build some life. When they build AI in the world we live in, they're trying to build a slave. That's what they're building, a slave. Okay? God was not building a slave from what it
I don't necessarily agree with that.
can you
I
just
think
can you just let me finish my point and then
okay,
you can decide whether you agree or don't agree.
okay.
it, the AIs that are being built today, they're being built to be slaves, meaning they're being built to serve a purpose that is driven by humanity. They want to tell the AI something and the AI does it. Everything that the AI is doing is in service of what the people want. When God is creating Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, he is not trying to create a slave. He's not trying to create something that is because he already has those things. That's what the angels are. He already has things that don't have free will. What he's trying to create in the Garden of Eden is he's trying to create something that has free will, that is choosing to be good because it's a conscious choice that it's making, that God himself has no inherent control or chooses not to have any control to make them do good or do bad of their own free will. So, in doing so, the only way to accomplish that task and the only proof that that task has been accomplished is precisely what happened. Only after you disobey, only after you do something that you've explicitly been told not to do and been programmed not to do,
Mm.
can you can God be assured
Now,
that what he
put
has
you in.
created
Okay. And
is
now we can
free?
put you in the world.
And now he puts you into the world. Once he knows that he has created
Mm.
something of free will, now he puts you out into the world and says, "Okay,
So what you're saying is the Garden of Eden was the environment that was built in order to complete the Turing test, so that creature could be now put into the real
yes.
scenario that it was built for.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, the Garden of Eden is the Turing test. The test is if you're building an AI right now, you put it through what's called a Turing test. It's a test to see if it's
Because why would there be a Garden of Eden and outside world? Why wouldn't the whole world just be a Garden of Eden?
Precisely. Precisely. And of course, when I say the Garden of Eden, I'm speaking,
You're talking Turing test,
yeah,
a safe environment,
figuratively. Like we
right?
don't know where the Garden of, it could be another dimension. It could be anywhere, right? The point is that at the point when man leaves and comes onto earth, God is clear that man is its own being separate from God. And when Adam and Eve are created, that is not clear. It is not clear when they are first created. It is only after they disobey that it becomes clear. And even then, when they go awry and go crazy, they are so unique and free, going back to the idea of a Turing test, that the only way that God handles the situation is to just destroy the experiment and start all over again, right? Kill everybody, right?
I mean, I watched a documentary the other day about the future. Like, it was like, what will happen 100 years from now, and what will the technology be? And a lot of it had to do with human beings. So for some reason, we have a desire to make ourselves, uh, they call it transhuman. Like, we want to start messing with our own DNA, make our eyes yellow, and put robotic material in our bloodstream, in our brains, and we always are trying to go back to that state where we're like totally going to.
But it's because we're gods.
Yeah,
To me, that's what I think. Base again, we're having a philosophical discussion, right?
right, right,
So
right.
from the framework of the story,
Yeah,
human beings are gods. We're
right.
gods, but we're
They
gods
say
that are
that.
stuck in a shell. We have the mind of God, but we
Yeah,
have the body of an animal.
right.
And so of course, any being like that is going to feel stuck, right? Cuz your awareness of self, that basic awareness of self takes you to another level, right? We cannot transcend beyond ourselves. We
Do
are
you think
aware of our own
do
death.
you do you oh so you're saying that we don't want to die,
We
or
don't want
you're
to
saying that we
die
don't want to be
because
in the flesh?
if you're a god, right?
Yeah,
Then you're not going to want to die because you know you understand that you're alive, right?
right.
Animals don't aren't contemplating that they're going to die. They're just living,
Let
right?
me ask you a question. Would you be okay if I was to take your brain out of your body and put your brain into a complete robot, right? Would you be happy?
I mean,
Or
it's
could someone be happy? Could someone be happy if they take their brain out and put it in a robot with no feelings? So again, you won't have any kind of stimulation. You won't know what the flavor of food is. Like I was speaking to this dude in the hospital one time, and he had all these machines hooked up to him, and he started breaking down crying to me because he was like, I forgot, I don't, he's like, I have not eaten food, actual food, in so long. He didn't, part of what made him human, part of what made him happy was the fact that he could eat salt, he could eat sugar, he could eat a piece of meat, he could rip into it, he could savor it. He could, so part of being human is also sex. Part of being human is also the stimulation that you get with the sun. So for your brain to operate in a robotic or this new form where you're not attached to your body, I just feel like that would be like a prison in itself.
Yeah, I think that there's two things I would say to that. I agree with you, but I think that if you were to take my brain and put me into a robot, the you would sort of evolve into perceiving the world from the perspective of being in Aruba. You have to remember that whatever you're looking at and whatever you're tasting and feeling, those things they only exist inside of your brain. There's actually a whole study about this idea that that animals evolve to perceive the world in a way that is relevant to them.
So you're saying that we'll drink some oil, and we'll be like, "Ooh, that was
Yes,
good."
precisely. You drink oil, and the oil would taste like the most amazing thing you can ever imagine, right? Because you need oil.
Right,
You get what I'm saying?
right.
Because you need oil, and and everything else, and there will be some equivalent to sex that has to do with mortality, and there'll be some equivalent to breathing and all these different things. But
Well, I do know there's one thing in what you're saying. You know, when people remove their legs, some people say that they still feel their feet, their toes, in their nerves, in the nerves. Still, they actually don't have the toes, but the nerves are there, and they
yeah,
can actually feel their toes. So people who have gotten like fake fingers or fake hands, like like fake when I say artificial limbs, they have been said that sometimes they touch their fingers and they feel it because of the way that their brain is mapping it. But I do say this person was in the hospital for 2 years, and they were fiending for the ability to eat, stimulation. And I think in the Bible, biblically, which again we're talking, ultimately God does want us to take control of our flesh. So as if we're higher than our flesh. So maybe there's some truth to that.
I think that the most terrifying thing that you could ever imagine is to exist forever.
It's funny you say that because I was just watching. I don't know if rich people are experiencing something different in life than poor people, but I was watching Joe Rogan talking to Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was like, "Yo, I'm afraid of dying. I'm gonna lose all this money and power and everything that I have." I think it's Larry King. That sounds
Larry
familiar.
King died?
Yeah, that's it too. Yeah, Larry King died last year, but he didn't really die. He has a disease called respiratory hypotic respiratory failure. Cephas is the name of the disease, and he froze himself. He's in a cryogenic chamber right now in Scotland. There's a company that what they freeze pets, they freeze people, which is stupid to freeze a pet. That to me that doesn't make any sense to freeze a pet. The dog is gonna come back alive and like, where's everybody at? Like, you're dead and gone. Nobody ever since. That'd be funny if they cure the dog 100 years from now. The dog is like, well, I'm alive now. Now what? Oh, we're gonna put you in a pen. But but they're freezing people and like Larry King and a lot of millionaires, and they just keep their body at a certain temperature and stuff like that, and hopefully they get the disease cure. But these people have a strong desire to live. It's funny too because I feel like there's that people in a whole have different desires to live. I see a person as a crackhead, and I'm like, why don't you just kill yourself? Like, bro, you're a total crackhead. You're in the garbage looking for food, but they have this want to live. And some people don't have that desire to live forever. So I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's
I
not.
mean, I don't think anyone has the desire to live forever. I think that those people that say that have a desire to live, they have a desire for more time. There's a difference between more time and all time. When you think about what God is an unending force that has lived forever and will live forever, as described by, by the Catholics or the Christians, right? That's what God is, right? No beginning, no end, but has an identity and a personality. So like us, right? So it's like God is like some guy named Joe that's living that's been around since the beginning of the universe, has been around before there was even time, right? And continues on forever, forever and ever and ever and ever,
According to us.
according to us. And by the way, God is completely
Outside of time. So therefore,
outside of time. But hold on,
he might have his own time, but we don't.
hold on. He doesn't have his own time because again, according to Christianity, God is at the top of all creation. There's God has no friends. God has no buddies that he's talking to. There's no society that he's a part of. God is completely alone in the universe.
Okay.
And that is really stressed when you look at the story that's once again told in the Garden of Eden. Because what does God do in this story? God gives Adam a companion.
Mm-hmm.
God does not create this also singular being that's less than him. God makes sure this being has a companion. God
And needs,
understands that it needs a companion.
and needs a companion in order to make procreation.
He doesn't need a companion in order to make procreation.
No, not God. I'm talking about Adam.
Even Adam doesn't need God. Adam could have been created without. Adam was created completely perfect the first time. God, he would have never been had to procreate. Adam is the one that asks for a mate. Adam is the one that Adam is the one
Oh,
that
right. So he was gonna live forever.
yes, because Adam was gonna live forever, and Adam was like, "Bro, I need somebody." Right? So,
Right.
right, I need somebody to experience the world with. If he was brought into this world, and based on the story of creation, there was no intention for Eve to ever be created. Eve is a person whose requirements were came about by Adam. When God created Adam, there was no procreation that was going to happen. It was just going to be Adam. That's what's
Okay.
in the Bible, right?
I don't know. I have to look at that.
I mean, you can look it up. He does not. God does not say that. God is not saying, "Let me first
I
create
mean, that's
Adam
the
and then
first
create Eve."
law. The first law of the Bible is to procreate.
After he creates Eve, after
Yeah.
he creates Eve, then after he creates genders, you could say, then everything starts. When Adam is created, Adam doesn't have a quote unquote gender. There's no sex. There's nothing like that going on. That's just what's in the Bible.
Okay.
There's no talk about procreation, which means there's no talk about genders until Eve comes around. So
Right.
you could almost think of Adam as asexual, having no sex. When Adam falls asleep, God takes out his rib, and through that whole process, God gives him a penis and makes Eve with a vagina and says, "Okay, well, here's how we're gonna do it. Since you don't want to be alone, we're gonna give you somebody that we're gonna split you in two and make a male and a female version, so y'all have to work together."
Right.
That's what he does. But at first, it's just Adam. He's got everything. Then he splits it and creates Eve. That's what's in the Bible. If I was a transgender person, I would say I came first.
But you weren't built that way.
God made me first.
Oh, right.
I represent God's true true
Damn.
image.
People could say anything, right?
Huh?
That people could twist and say anything. It carries what how
I'm
we
just trying to
interpret.
tell you. I'm just trying to prepare you for the
Not no
future
no. I
of
get it.
Christianity.
Yo, you tell it. Yo, this is not funny. This is not funny.
all, all you need is
Oh
one.
my God,
All you need
it's
is one
already happening.
preacher. All you need is
We
one
already have
preacher
him.
preaching it, right?
We already have him. He already preached that sermon already. The one that you're talking about. He said it a million times.
Okay, it's the truth. That's what's in the
Right.
Bible.
I mean, it's not the truth. It's your interpretation.
Yeah, well, every interpretation, every truth is an interpretation of a work, right?
I
What
mean,
makes
I
your
got.
truth more real than anybody else's truth?
It's
That
not real.
once upon a time, it was true that we were slaves of white people. Every truth is an interpretation. What makes your truth the truth? What gives you the right to say your? It's just the interpretation that you choose to accept.
Everyone puts things inside. Once you're adding things in, then you're adding things in.
I'm
If
not
it was
adding
never
things
said,
in. I'm
no,
reading what's in the Bible.
listen to what I'm saying. If you're doing math, right, and this is a mathematical formula which you should be known because you're a smart person, and you know that X is the unknown, right? And you have an A and a B. You can't have you can't have anything else but A B. You can't have C. You can't have D. You could try to put those things in because you say, well, A B could be C and all this other stuff because we really don't know. I could just go after what I see, and if some things I interpret, I interpret things, but some things are not said. At no time point did it said that Adam was asexual. You're the one that's saying that. I never said that. So don't tell me what's the truth. And if you and T Jakes could create whatever y'all want, you know, and you don't know because it doesn't say so.
It
You don't
does
know
say
what God's
so.
plan. No,
It
it
does
doesn't.
say so.
Doesn't say so.
It does say so.
Doesn't say he
Okay,
was
okay. It does not say in the Bible that.
Adam was asexual.
Hold on. It does not say in the. Why would Adam need a penis? Why would Adam need a penis? Why would the Adam that was created first need a penis? Just explain that to me. What's the penis for?
The P. Urinate.
Come on, bro. Adam probably had a vagina, bro.
No, shut up. Crazy. Probably making stuff up. Yeah,
Adam had a little pee hole like a vagina. Why does he need a penis? Adam does not need a penis at all.
Well, that's not his plan. His plan wasn't to do it. His plan was whatever he planned.
Well, you believe in the infallibility of God, right? That God makes perfect plans, doesn't make mistakes, and doesn't readjust, right?
I believe he has a plan. And I believe his plan is what he sees in the future and how he deals with it. That I deal with. But God does change his minds at times. Or at least it seems like that to the reader.
Okay, so I'm reading this again. I'm reading the Bible, and there was in fact um, male and female animals before even Adam. Male and female existed before Adam.
Okay.
What happened is that Adam looked at all the animals and saw that there was a female version.
You're adding.
Huh?
Stop. All right. Let's go to screen.
I'm reading it. Adam gave names to the cattle. Listen. Let me read it. Genesis. Let me read it. Genesis chapter 2, verse 20. And Adam gave names to the cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found any help for him. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof, and used it, and the rib which the Lord had taken from man made he a woman and brought her unto the man. So basically, every other animal had a mate except for Adam, and so God made a mate for Adam. I doubt that something like this can ever be properly answered by anyone, given the diverse set of conditions, innate and driven by society, an extension of ego or desire for security or comfort, hidden deep in the heart of the one that chooses you. Take solace if you have a loved one and that you are loved, even for this brief moment in time. Until next week, keep your thinking caps on.